Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm an achievement tutor with the Manchester College, and part of our summer showcase we have a mixology session for you this afternoon with the lovely Jackie, so I'll just hand over to her now.
Hi everyone, nice to have you on board. Today we're going to do a little bit of introduction to mixology, what it means, some of the equipment that you might need, but also some alternatives that you might have around the house as well to limit how much you think you might need to spend developing those skills and the equipment that goes with those skills. So we need to start a little bit away from the equipment. We need to start to understand our taste and our senses. So we know that there are multiple taste senses that we have. So we've got saltiness in our taste buds. So saltiness within, you can imagine salted crisps, salted peanuts, pretzels, that type of thing. Something that has a little bit of that saltiness. Maybe the brine that you might have in some of the things in your cupboard, like hot dogs have got brine in them, so there's a little bit of saltiness. We've got the sweetness. So move away from the sugar and think about the sweetness of things. So things like syrups, honey, things like you might have some sweet strawberries. Then we've got the sours. So the sours to me are something that kind of draw in the side of your cheek. Okay, so that could be something like a lime or a lemon, but also that can come into the sweetness as well. So that's our salt, our sour, and our sweetness, our sugary type feeling. We've got two more. I'm not sure if you know the final one, but let's have a little go at thinking about what the other senses are. So for me, it's called umami. Now umami is right down the middle of the tongue. Okay, it was only discovered in the 1900s. It was the very last taste sensor to be identified. And what that is, it comes from a word which kind of you actually say, so it's umami. So, but it's a U, umami. And umami is that lovely, luxurious kind of wanting more taste. So we can get that from lots of things like tomatoes. Okay, they had that umami. So they can be a little bit of everything. They can be a little bit sweet, a little bit sour. They've got different parts to them that give us different experiences. Can also go to things like gravy granules and things like that. That gives you a sense of umami as well. And then we've got things like the grapes again, that can give you an enhanced flavour of sweet, sour, and it just allows you then to understand a little bit about the taste and the texture of things. Some of my students before have come up with some really innovative sensory taste. So we've talked a little bit about the saltiness and the sour, the sweet and the umami, but what about the bitter? One of them came up with things like green apples, which I thought was a really good one. The bitter is right on the back of the tongue, whereas the saltiness is on the side, the sourness is towards the front, and then the umami is down the middle. And then the very interesting one, the sweetness is right on the tip of your tongue, okay? Almost where you would dip yourself, something that's really sweet, you take a children's sweet, okay, pop it in your mouth, and you instantly get that on the tip of your tongue. That's the sweetness, okay? Hence why it's there in that area. Some of the ones that the students came up with, let me just read those. So for the saltiness, they came up with crisps, seaweed, peanuts, chips or fries. For the sour, they came up with lime, lemon, green apples. They came up with sweetness, so chocolate syrup, honey, obviously cake and candy. So that was some of the ones that they came up with as well. So it's really interesting when we start thinking about those sensors and how we introduce them into mixology. Basically, mixology is exactly what it says on the tin. It's about mixing things up that work together, complement one another. So if I said to you, for example, strawberries, you might say cream. So we have like cream liqueurs as well that we can put in. Daiquiris, really popular drink, strawberry daiquiris, raspberry. Okay, again, that lovely blend, that soft blend, again, complementing one another in those flavours. The other thing that we have to think about is how we use those flavours. So, for example, we have things like a mojito, which is made off of fresh mint. It's made of white rum, a little bit of sugar, lots and lots of limes all pressed together, but we can actually make a non-alcoholic one as well. So when we're putting soda in things to top them off, we can also add some other flavours. So you could add elderflower, okay? You could add flavoured sparkling water to that as well. So we're going to do a mojito, a virgin mojito, at the end of the session, along with a nice punch for you to sort of see how we build things and stir things in. Okay, now we go back to the equipment. Really important that you understand. So obviously I've got my various glassware that we might want to use. I'll put those just there so you can see them. Okay. And again, jam jars really popular. We can put, you know, straws in them. Some of them have twisty lids, so that's one option. Then we've got an array of wine glasses. You get smaller wine glasses, taller ones, whatever you want to use. Then we have, these are gin glasses. They're quite large because they allow the botanicals in gin, okay, which have got overtones of juniper berries in there, and they will be lovely because you'll be able to smell in there, okay, nice big bowl. So think about your glasses and think about what you might want to do with them. And then moving on to the final glassware, obviously traditional champagne flute. Now, when we're thinking about what glass we're going to use, we have to also think about the methods that we're going to use. So are we going to mix a cocktail and just stir it, okay, with our bar spoon? This is a bar spoon, okay, very, very versatile. So you can use it for scooping, you can use it for measuring. We can use it, as you'll see in a little while, when we do something called muddling. Okay, so very handy. The other thing that you might want to decide is, are you going to shake it? So if I just find my cocktail shaker, so traditional cocktail shaker has two parts. Sometimes you might have a glass part to it. So we would build with a little bit of ice. We'd make our quantity of drink in there, and then we put our lid on, and then we shake. Okay, now the shaking action is very much over the shoulder, and it's only the arms that are moving. Okay, and what we need to see is the ice will form on here, and that's what you're doing. So you're agitating the liquid in here, and then the ice, and then shaking it. The best way to start shaking things is to use some pineapple juice, okay? Make sure it's from a carton, and give it a little bit of a shake to start with, just to make sure it's all mixed. Pop some ice in the bottom of one of these, lock them off, okay? Give it a shake once, just to make sure that it's airtight. Give it a shake for about 15, 20 seconds. Just count in your head. Give it a little tap, undo it, and you should see in the bottom there that there'll be some froth. So we'll go through that later on with another product. So that's just your mixer. Some other equipment that you might need is, this one is just a traditional wine opener. Sorry. Traditional wine opener that you can see. Obviously, this is where you open the wine, the cork. We have a nice little knife in here again, so that clips down, and then obviously you've got your cork pull, and you've also got something that you can undo the top of the bottle. Okay, so very, very handy. Next thing, I've got a presser. So this is a juicer. It allows, you can see there's got small holes in there, and what those small holes do, they stop any of the pips going through into the drink, because that would be a little bit of a choking hazard. Doesn't look very nice, and they certainly don't taste, because they become a little bit bitter. Okay, so that would be your juicer, allows all the lovely juice to come through. Then we've got our measurers. Now these come in different sizes. These two are standard sizes, believe it or not. So this one is a 50, this one is a 25, this one on here is a 50, okay? But you can see it's just because they're slightly deeper that they're the same. But again, you've got the 25 mils in there as well. Now, if you don't have one of these, what you could do is you could measure out 25 mils or 50 mils or 100 mils into a jug, work out where the line is, and then pop it into your glass so you know what the measurements are. Because it's really important that we measure everything rather than just free pouring. That can come later. But to get the balance and the taste and the right amount of texture within the drink you're making, so it looks and tastes fantastic, you need to learn to measure things very, very carefully. The other thing that I like to have is just some tongs. Okay, they're really handy if you've got ice, which I've got over here, or just picking something up in general. So that's something that you might like to do. The other thing that I've got is a really good Hawthorn strainer. The Hawthorn strainer itself works like so. So we put it onto the cocktail shaker when we're finished shaking, and then we can pour using this. It acts as the strainer in there, so it's two-sided, you can see. Okay, those little springs just allow you to push that in to the cocktail shaker itself. Put that over there. And then a couple of other things that I like to have. A serrated knife. Okay, I much prefer to have a serrated knife in the bar rather than a straight edge knife. If you're using a straight edge knife, you need to make sure it's kept really sharp. Okay, you need to be careful with your knives. You need to make sure that we know how to use them. And again, on your culinary course, it's one of the key skills that you'll learn at the beginning is just how to use your knife safely. The next thing that I'm going to show you is just some other equipment that might be an alternative. So there's more tongs here. There's a bar spoon just here. Okay, another one. Got my favourite little grater. Okay, I don't like a huge grater, but you can make them, you can use anything at home just to grate anything that you are using, sort of, especially in the peel area. That's really important. So things like oranges, lemons and limes, if you want to grate those, they're really good. And another great thing is maybe a little bit of chocolate. Okay, that comes really nice with some of the cocktails as well, and mocktails. So we call things a cocktail when it has a amount of alcohol in, and then we would call it a mocktail, so it's a mock-up of that cocktail. All right, so those are the two that you would have. The other things that we need to think about is how we actually use our equipment. And it's really important that you think about the equipment that you have in your kitchen itself. So we all have chopping boards, mostly, okay? But I wanted to just show you something that I think is important for you to realise. So these are my citrus fruits, and I'm hoping you can see these, okay? So what we've got on here, I'll just bring them a little bit closer for you. These are various types of oranges that have been cut up. Okay, so this is one orange. So over here, we've got a really nice peel, just a little bit of grated peel here. If we had smell-o-vision, it would be amazing. These are just pieces, just slightly sliced, whole pieces. Then we've got little quarters here. We've got nice thin slices just here, small quarters there. We've got the leftovers over here, and we'll use those in a little while. And then what I've done here is I have just popped these, and I don't know if you can see those. So I've actually segmented those. So there's no peel, and they're taken from the segment itself. And then we can make lovely little wheels as well that can go in the top of drinks. So that's all from one orange. So if you add that to any citrus fruits, so for example, I've got my limes already chopped into little quarters, but again, you could adapt that to, I've got some flat peaches here, right? They're just nice and fresh. Use those. We could use obviously your lemon, very traditional. If you're using a lemon, just give it a quick roll onto the board there, and it will release some of the oils, okay? Just nice and gently. You can do that with your limes as well. So these are your lovely oranges and your various citrus fruit. Now, what we need to think about is what glass you're going to use and why. So if we were making something like a blini, okay, so with some peach juice, maybe if it's an alcoholic version, it would be with champagne. If it's a non-alcoholic version, then we can top it up with various like soft drinks. So we can use ginger ale, ginger beer, we could use tonic water, lemonade, that type of thing. And that would be suitable in this type of glass. So think about the origin of the alcoholic version and then take it back to the non-alcoholic version. So for our mojito, we're going to need to have a little of the limes. Okay, I'm just going to grab my mint. Now, mint at the moment is growing really prevalently in gardens, and you can get it lots of places. But as soon as you pick mint, it starts to die, unfortunately. And the only way to keep it is really in the fridge. So if you just excuse me for 1 second, right, I'm just going to nip and get it from the fridge. That's me just coming back from the fridge. Here we go, guys. So I've got my lovely fresh mint. Okay, I'll grow some mint in the garden. You can buy it from the shops in a little pot and plant it on and keep that indoors or outdoors. Just water it. It'll grow quite happily. Or you can just buy it in the packet, which is a single use. Much better to try and buy a plant and grow it. It's really easy. So this one here, this is out of my garden. This is a sort of lemon balm one, so it smells of a lemon. And then some off a plant that I bought from a shop. This is really nice. Again, it's quite hard. So the wood on here, okay, the stem, we wouldn't use, but don't throw it away, because you can actually strip all the leaves off, as I'm going to do. Okay, so when we strip the leaves, we go from the top to the bottom. So just taking them off, and you've got your stem there. I'll do it with a few more because you need quite a lot for a mojito. Just strip these really quickly, because I think if I'd prepared them all for you, you don't see some of the skills that you'll be using. And otherwise, if you start picking them off, it takes forever. What you're left with is this lovely top piece. That's going to be a garnish. We'll put that to one side. And then we need a couple of more stems, just stripping those off. Down there. Right. So these stems that are left over, you can see those, right? They're full of mint flavour. And what you can do is you can get some normal pasta sugar or granulated sugar, put them in a bag, put a spoonful of granulated sugar or caster sugar in a bag, zip it up, okay, and then you'll end up with having some mint sugar, okay, in a couple of days. That'll be fine. Just take these out then and discard them. Or what else you can do is you can chop them up and put them in a bag as well and use them exactly as I say. So it smells absolutely lovely, really, really nice. So for a single mojito in a glass, I am going to choose my nice jam jar, because what I need to do is, these are all too delicate glasses. All right, they look nice with a mojito in them, but not very practical for making them, because we have to do something called muddling. All right, and when we muddle something, we push and press down the juices, and this time it's from the limes, and then that creates and infuses the rest of the drink as well. So first things first, mint. Mint is really, really delicate. Mint is made up of lots of tiny, tiny veins in it. And if we treat it too firmly, it will bruise. It will also go from beautiful, fragrant flavour to really bitter, and it will start to go brown. And nobody wants brown mint leaves in their drinks, okay? So again, it's something that you need to be mindful of. So we just gather the lovely mint into our hands and we just give it a little tap, a couple of times, okay? That will just open up the veins without bruising them, okay? And we'll just leave that over to one side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our limes and we're going to place them into our jam jar like this. This is one whole lime, so about 15 to 19 pence worth, depending on where you go to purchase. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 spoons of sugar. Okay, just to give help with the sweetness. You can use stock syrup, which you would use in fruit salads. So part of it sugar, 1 part sugar to 3 parts sugar to 1 part water, and then just make sure it's all mixed in warm water, let it cool, and that will do for your stock syrup as well. I quite like having that gritty sugar in there. And then what we're going to do, if I just show you on here, you can see we're just starting to, this is the muddling. Okay, and we're just moving that over. Okay, so what we've got, as you can see, you've got liquid already just in the bottom of the jam jar, and that's released from the limes themselves. And keep that there. What we're then going to do is we're going to place in our mint leaves. Sorry. Just going to place in our mint leaves into the top there. And again, we're just going to gently agitate that around. So it's within that. Then comes the ice. So again, lots and lots of ice needs to be popped into here, just so that you can build up your drink, because it needs to be really, really cold. Pop those in now, and then We'll add a little bit more in a second. So again, just give it a really good mix. Okay, just lift up that mint. We can add our final few pieces of lime in there, just to sit on the top. We've got enough here just to put a little bit more on the top, little garnish. And then what I'm going to use today, I'm going to use some fizzy water. It's just got a hint of lime in there, but it is sweet, so it will give that nice finish. I'm just going to place that there for you so you can see it. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to top it up, about 250 mils. You can see it's nicely evened out through the mojito, okay, through the virgin mojito. You've got a lovely mixture in there. You can just lift that up and you can see it's all the way around as well. You've got your lovely limes, fresh limes, it smells lovely. Okay, so finally we're going to do what we call crowning. So this is where you put a little bit of ice just onto the top, just to make sure it's chilled. And if you're having this outside, you know, in the heat, you really will need the ice just to finish those off. A little bit of mint. So for me, quite like that on the top there. Or you could go a little bit bolder and you could go for a sprig, okay, if that's what you wanted to do. Take that out. And then important, a sustainable straw. So preferably not single-use plastics, okay. Need to be thinking about alternatives now. There's lots of really good straw companies that are doing the metal straws as well. They all come with a cleaner as well. So you get this little brush in here so you can wash them out. Okay, just place that in there. Just give it a little wash out first. Okay, make sure they're nice and fresh before you give them out, and pop that in there. So there's your virgin mojito. Okay, really, really easy to make, but it starts your skill set developing within your cocktail making and understanding your mixology. Now, traditional mojito would have white rum in, but you can do alternatives to this. Lots of people are doing strawberry ones as well, so you can use fresh strawberries. You could use frozen strawberries in there, a little bit of mint as well, and then top it off with some soda water or lemonade or whatever you've got handy. A little bit of the ginger will work as well. All those combinations work, you know, in harmony with one another. You could even put your oranges in there if you wanted to. A little piece of orange in there would go really, really nice, or a little squirt of lime. You just need to have the confidence to taste things and test things out as you're going along. So that's your first one. Now, the final one I'm going to make for you today is a little bit of a cocktail sort of classic and a little bit of a punch, but we're going to use lots of different type of drinks and fruit, so it's really fresh. And again, I'm going to try and use up everything that I've got on the table here within a really nice fruit punch bowl. Okay, now bowls are great, but they're quite large, so I prefer to use something like a jug, all right, because it looks really nice. You can actually pour the drinks out, whereas if you're using a bowl, unless you're using straws within that bowl, it can get a little bit messy. Okay, so you need to think about that, because citrus, as you know, and the sweetness can really, really end up being really sticky on your hands. So we've chosen our nice jug there to use. We're going to use, I think, this really nice big glass. Okay, so this is actually what's classed as a gin glass. So it's a really nice rounded shape. It will look really nice with all the fruit in there, and we can still put a straw in the top. just to help the customer have a drink of it without getting all the bits around their mouth. So what I've got on my table here is, as I said, I've got the oranges, I've got white flat peaches, I've got some chunks of pineapple, they're just tinned pineapple. I've got some tinned peaches which I have pureed, so we're going to put a few teaspoons of those in. Now when you're using tinned peaches or tinned oranges and you want to puree them, you can either use a little blender to do that, or you can use a fork, mashed potato masher, okay, something like that, just to pressurize that. It doesn't have to be a total puree because it's quite nice in this, with it being, you know, a little bit robust. You can really pop anything in there, okay, as long as you've got that nice balance of sweetness along with the freshness that you want, rather than making it too sweet, because then it's not sort of sustainable to drink that for long periods of time. So it's not good for your teeth either. So what we're going to do is start building in this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put some ice in the bottom. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a big chunk of that because it's going to melt. Okay, and then we can put some smaller pieces in there as well. Work with them. If you don't have any tongs or anything, you can use a dessert spoon, preferably not your hand. There we go. So we'll just pop those in there now. The other thing that I'm going to put in here is I've got some really, really nice, I don't know if you know what these are. These are lovely passion fruits. And passion fruit is a lovely thing because it's really, really interesting. It keeps really well. And you know if it's really fresh by just, you listen to this, it sounds like cardboard. That's how we know it's really, really lovely and fresh. Now, this is really light, so that goes in the top. Your oranges sit in the middle and your pineapple goes to the bottom. Okay, so we need to think about when we're building things, how heavy everything is. So we've already got our ice in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place the oranges, okay, in first. I'll just put a few of those in, keep those back. So it's nice and orangey at the moment. Then I'm going to add a little bit of the pineapple on top of there. Not too much at this stage. Pineapple's quite overpowering. So if you're not a great lover of pineapple, you can just substitute that with something else. It will be absolutely fine. Then we've got some lovely little pomegranate seeds, which are nice to use. They look really pretty in there. You can add those in. You can see I haven't done anything to it yet. I've just started to build it. The final thing that I'm going to put in, I think I am going to put a little bit of this puree in because it has a beautiful sweetness. We're just going to place that in there, just on the top. A few mint leaves. So again, just stripping these into that top piece. All of these combinations work really, really well together. And it will be really nice when you're drinking it to experience all those different flavours coming through. No need to clap this one because it just needs to sit in there. Okay, so that's sort of the start of it, as you can see. I'll just show you that. You can see it's all in there. All just sitting quite happy. If you've got strawberries or raspberries or frozen fruit, you could put those in if you didn't have any ice cubes. again, an alternative to what you would be doing. A few more ice cubes on top. We're just building this up, and then we're going to give it a little addition. So I'm going to put in some Feeder Tree ginger ale. So 500 ml bottle, so half a bottle, so 250. Just see that comes up nice and fizzy. And this is one reason why we wouldn't use a cocktail shaker for this, because we've got the fizz in here and it would be very messy. So when we're making things, we have to think about, are they, do they have gas in them? Are they flat? And work it within the reams of that, because you really don't want to be putting fizzy things into a cocktail shaker. Finally, we're going to add a little bit of our cranberry juice. Just going to pop it into here. Two types of cranberry juice basically. There are the one that is natural, full of sugar, okay, and it's quite sweet, but again a little dry as well, so that you can remember that with your taste sensations. Or you can have the light version, which is slightly more bitter, okay, and it draws, sort of it dries the mouth a little bit. So it just depends on your preference. So if you see, while I'm pouring this in here, you can see that it sits quite nicely on the top and starts to blend. But a little bit like a sunrise, if you like, where it just sort of seeps down, so the grenadine and the orange juice go down into a sunrise. So that's your cocktail, your mocktail nearly ready. Just really stir. So that it's working well with all its sort of layers in there. And I'm just going to add on the top here, just going to place a few of passion fruit waters in there. Then we can mix those in and down. More little pomegranate seeds. If you haven't got the pomegranate seeds, you can buy the pomegranates. They're quite, they're about the same prices, so about £1 versus £1 for the punnet. It just depends whether you want to cut it open. If you do, just make sure that you've got a really good hold of it. Maybe put a cloth on the tray itself, just so that you've got something nice to hold on to, and it does sort of slide around. And you would cut it across this way. Let me show you. So that's your lovely pomegranate. Okay, that's what it looks like inside. See that? All those little jewels. And then if you buy it already done, you get something like that. Okay, but it's exactly the same product. Just depends if you want to have a little play with it and cut it open. Over there. Now, when you are nearly finished, we can just add a little more mint. But first of all, I'm going to do something which you might think is a little strange. I'm actually going to taste it. We're going to taste it in a way that it's safe, it's hygienic, but we get an understanding of what's going on in here. So you're going to take your straw, you're going to place it into the glass itself, and lift it up. You're just going to taste it. Okay, it's a little bit dry on the tongue, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little spoonful of our puree on the top there. And then I'm going to add some more orange. The oranges that I've got here, just going to give a little fresh squeeze in there. Okay. And again, if you wanted to do this with your presser, okay, just place it into there, open it up, and then just start to squeeze it closed, and you can see that the juice is starting to drip out. Okay. So just 2 ways of adding a little bit of extra sweetness to that. Place that over there. We'll have another taste, different straw. You know what I said about sustainability, but they are paper, so they do go in the compost. Yep. And again, we've got a much more complementary flavour with the orange and the cranberry juice starting to work well with the ginger ale as well. Oh, finally, a little bit of garnish. Just going to use some mint up in here, pop that in the top, and then I'm just going to show you little cuts with the peach. Just to show you how you can sort of garnish as you're working through. So what you can do is, if you slice your peach down this way, it will give you a little edge like so. Okay, you see that? And then cut that in half. And then what we can do is, if we take a little slice, very carefully, mind your fingers, take a little slice, okay, and we can start to decorate the outside. Just working our way around the centre of the stone, which is inside. Now, I really like it when they've got the flat peaches are really good, because they're a little bit firmer, but they're really nice and sweet as well. Again, all the way around, you can just place something on like that. So we've got those. If you wanted to, you could still continue to use a little bit more and just sprinkle some orange on there. If you've got some pineapple, you could add some pineapple, extra pineapple in there. But you can see in the bottom here, you see all the pineapples floated to the bottom. So again, when you're making something like this, it's really nice to present it, but again, it's also really nice to pop a bar spoon into there so that it can be stirred. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place it into here, a little bit of ice. Just into the glass, just to chill it down a little bit. Move that over there. I'm going to add a little bit of the orange to it. And this is just using up everything that I've got on the table still. So some nice pieces of orange in there. Oops. Pop those in. We've got a few pomegranates left. And what you could do is you could actually prepare your glasses like this before anybody arrives. So you've got that opportunity then just to pour the liquid into your drink itself. So here we go. And see that lovely colour. So what you could do is pour everybody the liquid and then spoon out the fruit. If you leave this for about an hour, it will sit really well. The fruit will begin to gather. You can stir it. If somebody, you know, wants a piece of passion fruit in there, we can give them those. If they want a peach. We can pop the peach in for them, but all your lovely flavours are in there. And then you can either serve it just as is, or put some straws in it. Something like that. Okay, and have those. If you wanted to cut the straws down, they're really, really easy to cut just with a knife on a chopping board. So there's your your 2 examples of your mocktails. So we've got a lovely fruit punch, okay, with lots of fruit in there. We've got mint, passion fruit, we've used pineapples, oranges, cranberry juice. So actually it's a really, really nice, refreshing drink. Again, going back to your mojito, your virgin mojito, with all that lovely fruit in there. So you've got your limes, really refreshing. And again, that can be made with red fruits as well. So there's lots of adaptation. And that's what I need you to think about for the future, is how you're going to adapt from learning the basics to moving on to more complex methods within your mixology. So I hope you've enjoyed today, okay? And I hope I'll see you very soon. Thanks now.